Also with us, Dr. Thongkholal Haokip. I recently saw this visual coming in from Nagaland, where the tribal solidarity, meet was held and arranged, where the Naga community made sure that the Meiteis and the Kuki community in Nagaland came together. They held hands. There was a proper picture optics. The larger message that something like this might send out. Did you get to know about this particular meet? What's your take and opinion on this?
What is done somewhere else cannot affect the ground reality, because on the ground in Manipur, between the valley and the hills, it's a very different. People are armed to the teeth against another. So that's the ground reality. We might do something here in Delhi or somewhere else, but that doesn't affect much. It's a total failure of governance. Look into how this conflict has emerged. The head of government was the instigator of othering the minorities. And how can he head a peace committee such as the one created by the Ministry of Home Affairs? So that is the situation where the other people, the minorities could not accept such committees which are you know uh, headed by the chief minister himself. So we have to look into the realities, how this conflict emerged, who are the instigator, the role of the police in this conflict. You have so many viral videos where Manipur police itself is joining the radical groups in arson and other kind of violence in Imphal and other places. So there is to bring certain kind of peace, you need to have some kind of retributive justice. So we have to look really into these hard facts that had happened for the last 3 months. And unless you address all these realities, people are not going to reconcile themselves for peace. So we have to look into how it begins, who are the people who took the part of this violence, and how can they be brought to justice? How can they be replaced? That is should be the goal of the central government in trying to restore a peace. And as I have stated earlier also, the kind of conflict that we see in Manipur is very much political, and this kind of political conflict needs a kind of political dialogue as well as solution. And that is where the central government is lacking in terms of emphasis. So we have to emphasize on certain political solutions also, as we talk about peace and harmony, restoring them, bringing back the previous kind of relationships, and look into the kind of duration of this conflict. It's going to be 3 months. And what about the children who have been deprived of education? Now internet has been banned for more than almost 2 months. There is no online. There can be any online classes also to be conducted. So there is no physical classes for the last 3 months. We have to look into the sufferings or the deprivation of
Right.
education by children, because it's just a few. It's just about a year that we have started classes after a 3 long year of COVID, and now this generation of children are suffering from this kind of lack of a proper communication between the teachers and the students, and this is going to affect the kind of education of whole generation in the coming days. So we have to think about this larger issue of education as well as
Dr.
uh,
Haokip,
yes.
you certainly are raising the right kind of points. Well, Mr. Kipgen, I'm going to first come to you. Help us understand what the people on the ground in Manipur react to situations like these, about the politics that's taking shape in the center. We know that the parliament, functioning has been derailed completely. The opposition is demanding a statement from the Prime Minister. The BJP, the ruling dispensation, says that we want to talk. It's the opposition that's not letting us talk. All of this politics, how is the mental psyche of the common man in Manipur reacting to the politics that he or she sees taking place in the center?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that uh, that the situation, that the crisis in Manipur, after 80 days, needed to become a discussion point in the parliament. It would have been better if we could have left the parliament to discuss other issues and Manipur not be an issue there. But this only shows the lack of governance, be it in the center or in the state, that something which is an issue, an internal issue of a state such as Manipur, has had to be a talking point in the Indian Parliament. Why wasn't the state government in the first place capable themselves of sorting this internal issue on their own? So after 80 days, if it is needed, if the country, the entire country, the opposition parties and the entire nation finds it necessary that it needs to be debated in the parliament, then why should there be any obstruction to that? Yet they get the discussion over, and then the parliament can proceed with its other resolutions, other issues. So it is not something that uh, that we would criticize now what is going on in the parliament, because it has come to that extent that that this has become a talking point in the parliament. And the earlier it is debated, the earlier it is, a resolution is moved on it, the earlier that the parliament takes notice and takes a stand on it, the better it is for all of us, so that the house can continue with its other businesses as well.
Mr. Kipgen, also at the same time, we have various visuals from the length and breadth of the country. People are raising their voice in solidarity with what's happening, in terms of the violence in the tenuous state of Manipur. How does that weigh down on the psyche of the people over there, from Ranchi to Jharkhand to, Patna, Lucknow, you name it? People are coming out onto the streets with big banners saying that they want peace, not violence in Manipur.
Yes, we extend our gratitude to all those who have shown solidarity to our issues here, be it from whichever state, whichever community, whichever part of the country. It is something we were hoping, hopeful for, that since the center government wasn't taking the issues here very seriously, we were always praying for that we get such kind of a nationwide media attention, that people would actually see what is the stark reality in Manipur, that they would finally, come to be with us in solidarity, that they would see that what is happening in Manipur is something that can also happen to them. This is the dark reality in the state of Manipur, and we are grateful to all those who have garnered support, to all those who have stood in solidarity with us, organizing peaceful march, taking out pamphlets, showing their solidarity with the Kukis community of Manipur, asking for the union government to clamp down the violence. These are some of the things which we are very grateful for, and we are also hopeful that these movements, nationwide movements across the country, this would help in the union ministry, in the union government, taking these issues more seriously, and for the world also to notice, and and come up with a way forward, with solutions, so that this thing within the state of Manipur can end peacefully.
Yeah, Mr. Kipgen, do stay on with us. We're going to showcase, full frame visuals of the protest that's taking place not very far away from Manipur in Mizoram. Take a look, folks. Well, now also with us on the broadcast is Major General Sanjay Mestan, who's the defense expert with us on the broadcast. Major General, the bigger question now is also about the fact that From day one, we've been looking at various figures: 10,000 boots deployed, 15,000 boots deployed, so and so many platoons also deployed over here. You've got the Assam Rifles, you've got various other battalions of various other forces on the ground. How big of a role, percentage-wise, is the Indian Army personnel playing on the ground? Do we need more boots? Do we even have more boots? Where's the Manipur solution vis-a-vis the army deployment on the ground?
Manipur solution is not a military solution. It's a political solution. Firstly, that I am very clear. And having served in that state, my first posting was there way back in 1982 in same area. I was also in the hills and also in the plain. And hills, when I say, I was in Ukrul and much beyond. The people always lived in harmony, and during the course of service, even in last official visit I had in 2018, the people were very peaceful. So who has generated this conflict? Certainly not the armed forces. Armed forces only quells a problem. It's a politically motivated factor, or the conflict has been generated because of that. Ethnicity's existence is a reality in many parts of the country, and similarly it is in Manipur. So we have lived with this ethnicity, and there are two ethnicities very well known, and they have existed very peacefully, and excellent rapport they had. What suddenly has happened on 4th May, that things have just taken out of proportion. They have not even spared the war veterans who have fought in the Kargil war. They have not spared even army officers. It is so shameful. And who has done it? It is the people over there. And people have not gone suddenly berserk. They have gone berserk because someone has led them astray. So who has led them astray? We all should find out. Answer is known to everyone. And these kind of people need to be taken to task. And the police has totally failed. The law and order is a police responsibility. It is not the role and responsibility of the Indian Army. We have a different role. For us, the priority is the northern borders with China and the western borders with Pakistan. And in fact, it was at the behest, an initiative of the Indian Army, that the Sioux was, we were the ones who initiated it. In fact, way back in 2011, even I had some small role. I had visited Manipur on an official duty along with the then Home Minister, and things were moving very well. So who's that person? Let us identify, and he needs to be held accountable. And the next is the police. How can police, which is supposed to be looking after the law and order, suddenly fail? It's a total failure, and they are, taking sides of one particular ethnicity. This is simply not done. It is a very, very serious issue, and it needs to be done at the highest level of the nation, because this is a total failure, and it has got security implications on the country. Not only security implications, it has got implications on the entire nation, and especially on the people of Manipur. Lives have been shattered. Education has just been shattered. Ethnicity divide, which was just people were existing there, side by side. They were staying in the same villages. Now, deep mistrust has been sown in. Now, I doubt they can ever.
Major General,
Yeah.
My apologies for interjecting here. Pertinent points that you've made, and I mean, I personally am way beyond, asking whether the law and order has failed or not, because it clearly has failed, and you're right in pointing that out. And another pertinent point that you've raised is the fact that yes, the focus should be on the fact in terms of finding out who has led them astray, the people. And historically also, history has witnessed how the Kukis, the Meiteis and the Nagas, they have had their skirmishes and clashes here and there, but they have otherwise lived as harmonious tribes amongst each other. I'm going to again ask you a question that I only very recently asked BL Vora, who was with us on the platform just before you joined in. The 718 Myanmarese nationals who have now, crossed the border. The government is putting all kinds of pressure on the Assam Rifles, the Home Department especially, trying to ask them why this happened without proper documentation. When you're talking about security implication, and we're sitting on 80 days of this conflict, how can something like that happen? I mean, what's your viewpoint on that? You must have read it in the papers today as well.
No, actually, today I was a little busy. In case you can just reiterate.
718 Myanmarese nationals crossed in in the last 2 days from the Myanmar side to the Indian side without proper documentation. This is coming from official sources of the Home Department, and they're trying to put pressure on the Assam Rifles, saying, push these 780 Myanmarese people back, and also asking questions as to why this happened in the first place. But the security implications that you raised the larger question on, I mean, what's your viewpoint
Yeah.
on this now?
Yeah, firstly, let's be very clear. The borders over there are porous. Assam Rifle is not deployed like the BSF and ITBP along the northern borders, and the BSF on the western borders, and the BSF also on the Bangladesh border. The borders in the northeast are very, very different. This thing, they are not. The troops are physically not deployed. They have small isolated posts, so we cannot say that now how they have entered. Let me put a very blunt question: how this women with 4 children has entered from Nepal despite the SSB deployed from Nepal? That means the terrorists can come, and this is one of the best ISI infiltration routes. So let us not blame the Assam Rifles. It is a failure of the planners. After all, how it has been allowed to happen, why the borders are not secured. This is the whole issue. It is not only with force. You have to have a diplomatic and a political resolve with the Myanmar side. And Myanmar, we know the kind of regime they have. They are being supported by China. So it has got a lot of security implications. Today, China would be the happiest. Pakistan ISI would be the happiest. They want India to burn. This is exactly what is happening. So they have burnt the northeast. It is affecting the neighboring states. And unfortunately, it is one of the most critical areas for us in the nation.
Right.
People, actually, the mainland in India, we neglected. I've commanded my brigade in Nathula, from where down below is the famous Siliguri corridor, or we call it the chicken neck. It is this entire area east of that is very, very sensitive. We have got the borders with Bangladesh, with Myanmar, with China. It's such a sensitive area with Bhutan, and we cannot tend to neglect it. So why always say that it is a role of the armed forces or whatever it is? We have evolved a policy of one border, one force. That is also not being implemented. Assam Rifles today in the hinterland, they are not doing the role of the police. So how can we expect them to be securing the borders?
What you're
So there
essentially
is some,
saying that the process we're looking for has to be more political than military at this point in time. But
yeah.
it's safe to say that because of the sensitive situation and position of Manipur and the shadow of the Golden Triangle falling directly on the Manipur border, army also needs to be there, which is why it's there and it's doing its due diligence.